Hello everyone, this is Tapasya and welcome back to our channel #literature with us. Today in this lecture we are going to talk about postmodernism. So postmodernism is a reaction to the modernist view. In terms of literature, it is characterized by the ideas of experimentation and a rejection of conventional form of literature. Postmodernists believe that there are no high art. Some art of creativity are not more valuable or artistic than others. Therefore, the idea of creating something aesthetically perfect was rejected, and instead, authors embraced a playful, irrelevant approach. Understanding postmodernism requires a dash of content. So, at the end of 1900s and moving into the 20th century, a new form of creative thinking started to emerge. Philosophers and creatives began to reject traditional ideas of how work of art, that is, poems, plays, novels, films, should be created, responding to the increasing industrialization of the world and having a realistic and instead experimented with new approaches. For example, the painter Ren Margaret explored surrealism. He explained about surrealism, and the writer Virginia Woolf wrote whole novel as a stream of consciousness. Now, the moment in this entirely was called modernism. In 1939, the outbreak of Second World War saw a further shift in attitude towards creativity. The war came to an end in 1945, and by 1950s and 1960s, people were starting to take a more cynical view of life. This resulted in the birth of postmodernism. We'll also discuss on few of the characteristics of postmodernism. I have it right here. While studying for net insight, I have prepared a lot of um, these things because it was really important to know everything. Um, let's start with the first feature of postmodernism. As we now know how postmodernism has emerged, the first characteristics that we have is castic. Now, what do you mean by castic? Now, castic, if you see taking pictures and clubbing and making new style, these people are known as castic. Then there is intertextuality. Of course, we all know that how previously literary works have been acknowledged in intertextuality. The next salient feature of postmodernism is, of course, metafiction. So art of writing about writing and making use of fictional characters. So poem talking about writing a poem, that is metafiction. This is an example that I'm giving you. That poem is talking about how to write a poem, or a story talking about how to write a story. The fourth one is temporal distortion. So temporal distortion is no less than non-linear timeline and narrative techniques. Next is minimalization. Sorry, it's minimalism. Minimalism is the use of characters which take common characters into consideration. The next is maximalization or maximalism, which means disorganized, lengthy, and detailed things. Okay. Then comes magic realism. So magic realism is the introduction of impossible or unrealistic work in real concept. Next is faction. So faction is mixing of actual factual events into fictional events. That is known as faction. And the last one is reader involvement. So reader involvement is direct address to the reader, that is reader's involvement. These are 9 characteristics of postmodernism. Okay, so we have known about how exactly the movement of postmodernism has been arised. We have learned about 9 characteristics of postmodernism, and I think this is what we need to learn and understand about postmodernism. Thank you so much for listening this lecture.